what it means to have more than 100 women in the Queensland Parliament now is an incredible achievement. I guess from my perspective, the next step really is about how do we get a diversity of women in our parliaments. I've raised Greek, that was my family background, and I'd love to see more women from culturally and linguistically diverse communities taking that step and becoming members of Parliament.
For me, reaching 100 women in Parliament is exciting for the future. It means that when you walk past the board, and you have to go past a whole board before you get to women in Parliament, it means that in the future, potentially there could be a board full of women. And that to me is really exciting, that gender is no longer the big barrier that it once was to be a great politician.
Look, I think it's a really great opportunity to celebrate female participation in the most significant decision-making body in the state. I always say that you can't be what you can't see. And so for younger women, for women facing any potential barriers or opportunities, there are women in front of them who have climbed over those barriers and have said, I can do it, and therefore you can as well. And I think that's incredibly important. I also happen to be in the seat of Bulimba, and Irene Longman was the first member for Bulimba, first female member, elected in 1929. I am only the second female member for Bulimba about 100 years later.
I'm the first female Member of Parliament to represent the seat of Warrego since Federation. I'm also the first female minister, to represent the seat of Warrego since Federation.
I'm very proud to be the 100th woman in the Queensland Parliament. I'm very proud to represent all those women that become quite invisible in society when they reach a certain age. So I'm proud to represent all the women in Ipswich West and all over Queensland.
The first female MP in the Queensland Parliament was Irene Longman, who was the Liberal member for Bulimba. It is important that we have more women in Parliament so that we have a greater voice across government.
Well, as number 20 on the list of over 100 women elected to the Queensland Parliament, it's amazing to think that there were so few before the time when I was elected. At the time, I was the youngest ever woman, and there's many great women who've taken that title since. I've also been fortunate to have been the first ever female Speaker of the Queensland Parliament, but mainly it's the honour of serving my constituency that I hold as the greatest milestone. So for women in this Parliament, there have been hurdles over the generations, and I think it's important that we never forget to celebrate those who have pioneered a way.
Most definitely be a leader, not a follower, and be the change you wish to see.
Be curious, be kind to yourself, and don't be afraid. Be courageous and follow your passions.
Back yourself. When doors open, walk through them. Say yes. All too often, I feel like as women, we question our abilities and we want to be perfect at something before we take that leap. Just do it. Leap and do it. Walk through that open door, because you are a powerful, amazing woman and you can achieve anything.
To always believe in yourself and to trust your gut and to follow your instincts.
A strong woman stands up for herself. A stronger woman stands up for others.
If you work hard and you're very conscientious, you will get through, but you do have to work very hard.
Follow your dreams. You can do anything you want. And us women that are here in Parliament at the moment is about you seeing what you can be, because you can't be what you can't see. So we want to inspire the next generation of leaders, because being a Member of Parliament is such an important job for all of Queensland and Australia.
So the biggest inspiration I got was from Malala Yousafzai. Her and I are very similar in age, and when she was quite young, she was shot in the left side of her head. I'm from Pakistan originally, and where she was shot was about 7 hours from where I was born. And that really inspired me and made me think back to the journey my parents have had in moving to Australia, and made me think about the privilege I share with a lot of the people in terms of the education I've had. And that really inspired me to put my hand up and represent everyone in our community and make sure I could fight for all.
Well, I was very lucky to meet many former female politicians, but Di Macaulay was one of Queensland's first ever female cabinet ministers, and she was just fabulous. She was feisty, she was from the bush, and she knew what she was doing. She really encouraged me to get involved, and I'm really pleased, 12 years later, I'm still here.
Well, I've been inspired by many amazing women throughout history, those obviously I've read about, those I've seen in the Parliament, but I would always say the person who inspired me most was my mum, because she always said, no matter how resilient you need to be in politics, no matter how, I don't like using the word aggressive, but assertive you need to be, just be a good person and be kind to others. And this is a tough place. So in Parliament, I think there's always a need just to be kind and check in on people around you. So that's the advice I always take.
So I have three very strong women that will be known by all. The first one is Margaret Thatcher, and the second one is actually Lady Diana, and the third one is Mother Teresa. And Lady Diana, because of her heart for people, and as a registered nurse I relate to that, and Mother Teresa because she was a woman of action and selflessness. And whilst I aspire to be that, I certainly can't say I've arrived. So I thank those three women for their inspiration to me.
One of the women who I particularly find inspirational, obviously our very first female MP, who was Irene Longman, but there's a woman before that time who didn't have the right to vote, who left her mark literally on Queensland and this Parliament. Her name was Eliza O'Connell. Many people have never heard of her. And I think that's one of the challenges of women who've led the way and created opportunities for others. They just do it. They don't always put a spotlight on themselves. It's up to us to remember to celebrate and honour those who have taken important steps to make our community a kinder, more accessible, a fairer society. Eliza O'Connell, she was the wife of a very important man, the former president of an upper house in Queensland when we had one. She didn't have the right to vote. This is in the 1800s, but she saw that there was a need for women who were coming into this area here and who were in danger in childbirth, and she worked with other women to set up the first lying-in hospital, which is today Royal Women's Hospital. They saw children who were dying because infant mortality rates were high. Rather than just lamenting the fact that it was tough, they did something about it and they set up the first children's hospital. They saw women who had no training opportunities, who were vulnerable, economically vulnerable, who needed a job, but to do that they needed training. They set up Queensland's first ever training institute. There were other women with her along that journey, but many times this woman was in the operation. She was the chair of the committee making things happen. I think it's really important we don't forget those who blaze a trail and take the honour of the opportunity today to unlock the opportunities for those who come after us.
Margaret Thatcher is one of the politicians who inspired me into taking up this position. She was strong, she stood up for her beliefs, and I will continue to hopefully continue her legacy.
Inspiration comes from all the people I meet, but also from those of the past and the legacies they've left behind.
So this is an important milestone because diversity within politics in particular means that we get all shapes and sizes, men, women, everyone from every walk of life.
It's incredibly important to see the real world represented in the Parliament, and having an equal amount of women in the Parliament reflects the real world, and it also sets a precedent for more groups, more minority groups in the community to have an opportunity to be represented in this place.
My tradition every day that I'm here in Parliament and every day that I'm home is to always hug my gorgeous boys, my babies as I say, they're 12 and 14, so they would argue not babies, but it just keeps me grounded. It reminds me at the end of the day what's most important, and that is staying connected to the people that you love most, but also staying true to yourself and your values and thinking about home and my electorate. So it's very grounding and it also fills my tank.
So I am very much into running, and I love to do a big sort of 5 or 8K run before a big day in Parliament.
Look, one of the things I do, because I come from a seat where it's pretty hot in summer, is I always make sure if I'm in the chamber or if I'm somewhere out in southwest Queensland that I actually have a bottle of water or a glass of water, because that's so important to be able to speak well, and you can do that so much better when you've got that glass of water.
My lucky charm or tradition is something that I often reflect on when I've got a big moment or a big decision coming up, and that's I always wear my grandmother's eternity ring. So my grandparents were married for 70 years and 2 weeks, and when my grandmother passed away, I was lucky enough to receive her eternity ring, which I think for me has 70 years of good juju and her amazing personality distilled into this one little piece of jewellery. So whenever I'm wearing it, I always feel her strength of character and her steel spine when I've got a big decision to make or a speech to give. So that's my little lucky talisman. That gives me something lovely to think about when I've got a tough moment coming up, both in politics or in life.
I have a flat white.
Earl Grey tea with milk and honey.
Flat white, extra hot. I have to do that because I'm always leaving it go cold.
My go-to coffee order, very boring, flat white and 1 sugar, but I only have 1 a day. That's my secret, because I'm already so up. If I have too many more, it could get dangerous.
My go-to coffee order, very boring, cappuccino lactose free.
Well, I hesitate because when I go to the cafeteria, Andrew has it ready. But what I love is a soy piccolo extra shot.
Well, my go-to coffee order is a soy piccolo, but if I am trying to watch my milk intake, I just have a long black.
My go-to coffee order, in the morning I have a lactose-free piccolo, but now during the day I have a iced long black, but I don't know what I'll do in winter.
So I have a skinny flat white, but I only have 1 first thing in the morning, and then for the rest of the day I drink ginger tea.
My advice would always be to be patient but ready when it comes to politics.
Know who you are and what's important to you. That is what the people of your community need to know about you. Be true to yourself. Be deeply embedded in your community. Surround yourself with people who will support you, who'll tell you you've stuffed up if you have, who you can share your joys but your failures with as well, and they won't judge you. Set yourself up to be a good human being, and you'll be on the right track.
Just put your hand up. We have celebrated the 100th woman in Parliament in Queensland, and it was such a pleasure to be a part of that. I believe that the right person for the right job, but I believe more women need to put their hand up, and we're very capable. So if you're interested, put your hand up.
The advice I would give to women considering politics is have support around you. Make sure you have a strong family unit, friendship unit, have a good balance in life.
Read widely so that you understand the world around you and have a really strong sense of who you are, what you stand for and what you want to achieve. Also, I would say be really conscious to cultivate your mental and physical strength. This is a really tough way to contribute to public life, and you need every ounce of it to keep up with the pace.
I would give the same advice to my female counterparts as I would to blokes. If you want to enter politics, you have to do it for the right reason. You have to do it because you want to serve your community and you want to serve your state. I believe that you have to have a good value set and be prepared to stick by your values. And that's why it's the same for both females and males.
I think for me, it's really important to recognise that there's a space for every kind of person and personality in a field like politics. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room or with the strongest opinion most forcefully put. You also need people and women who are willing to listen to others and have a more collegiate and consultative leadership style. And I think around the world in recent times, we've really seen great evidence of that. So I would say to women who don't necessarily consider themselves to be really forceful or confident people, that doesn't mean a career in politics isn't for you. We really do need all kinds of people in politics. So have a think about what you can bring to the table, because I bet it's a lot more than you think it could be.
Certainly when we have more women in our parliament, or in fact when our communities are better represented in the parliament, I believe that we make better decisions for Queensland communities across our state.
Women bring a unique perspective to parliament. We are compassionate and kind and very much into human nature. And as a consequence, we bring all of that to everything and every bill and everything that we work on in parliament.
We need diversity in Parliament just the same as what we have diversity in our community. And I think when we increase the number of women in Parliament, it does bring about a great diversity and a sense that we are reflecting the community outside. And when we reflect Queenslanders, we know that we're doing a good job. And you can't have an unbalanced gender representation in the House. We need a diverse group, and it's great that Labor has achieved 50% women in the Parliament for many years now.
It's so important that the Parliament is representative of the community, and having women in the Parliament means that we're talking about issues that affect women and affect families and create a better society for females.
So we all bring different traits to the table, and we find that women have probably a better, smoother communication style, and obviously that is something that's very important when we're working in the political arena.
I would tell myself that it's not about being assertive or being bossy and telling people what to do. It's about listening to your community and leading with empathy.
Believe in yourself. Don't second guess. Go after that thing which you desire.
A woman from history that I'd love to meet would have to be the former state member called Violet Jordan. My seat, the seat of Jordan, is named after her. She was the second woman to be elected to the Queensland Parliament, first Labor woman, an incredible person who did so much for her community, but being only one woman in the Parliament at the time, what an incredible achievement, and shows her strength and determination. I would have loved to have a chat with her.
This is a tough one. I was thinking about some famous women from history, and then I decided that I'd probably want to have dinner with my great aunt, who was one of the first women to attended the first rally, IWD rally in Brisbane in 1829. You know, there are examples of wonderful women doing great things all the day that we know nothing about. So it's the surprising everyday women who do great things, and it's their stories to me that I think are the most inspiring, because there are so many of us out there.
I would have dinner with Nancy Wake. Alias is the White Mouse. She is born in New Zealand, came to Australia at 20 months, but you know, we always claim those people. But during World War II, she performed an amazing function, saving thousands of our allied servicemen and women. So yes, Nancy Wake.
The best advice I've ever received is nobody's coming to save you. So if you want to make something happen, get up and make it happen yourself.
Take the job seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously.
The best piece of advice I've ever received was from my high school principal, who said the pain of regret is worse than the pain of discipline. You don't want to go through life regretting not making a decision or taking an opportunity. So put your hand up, and if you want to achieve great things in this world, you can.
I have received lots of advice, and probably no more so than once I was elected into Parliament, but one that I received many, many years ago that I still hold close to my heart today is do what you say you will do.
Best piece of advice I've ever received is, and I love this one, no is a complete answer. Too often women are made to feel like they have to say yes to everything, even when they really don't want to. So I love that. No is a complete answer. I think Jane Fonda said that, and I love it as a piece of advice.
When I was a teenager, and this same great aunt who was quite wise said to me, what other people think of you is none of your business. But in politics, that seems to not be the case because we need to be aware of what people are thinking of us. But there's still a lesson in it, and that is be true to who you are and don't get bogged down of other people's personal opinion. Use the information they can give you to make good decisions, but don't get bogged down in it. Be who you are and be proud of that.
So the best piece of advice I've ever received from a female mentor is pretty simple, but I think it's incredibly important and I never forget it. It's just be on time. Being on time shows you respect their time, it shows that you respect your time, and it means on the odd occasion where you are, unavoidably late, people understand that there must be an extenuating circumstance. Being on time shows respect for other people, it shows respect for yourself, and keeps the world running smoothly. So, it's simple advice, but I think it's really important.
To surround myself with a small group of people who have always got my best interests at heart. You meet so many people in politics and lots of amazing people, but just have that few who will tell you when you've done a good job, they'll watch your back, they'll tell you if you've stuffed up. If you've done really well on something, you can tell them and they won't think you're boasting. If you've had a spectacular failure, you can tell them that as well and have a good cry, and no one else will ever hear about it. That is absolutely the best advice I've ever had, and I tell that to every aspiring political candidate.
I think the best piece of advice that I've ever received is really to back myself. I was fortunate to work for Rosalyn Atkinson, who was a Supreme Court judge, and she always used to say to me, don't be afraid to aim high. And I think it's so important that particularly women and girls get that advice to be ambitious and to really go after what they want and to aim high.
The best piece of advice I received when I became a politician is be yourself. You can never be anybody else. So be yourself, be proud on who you are, no matter where you come from. Always act with integrity and respect, and I think that's a very important message. And the third one is remember the opposition is opposite you, and often in politics your enemies sit right beside you. So make sure that in politics you know exactly where you stand, and be sure that you be yourself. I don't think you can be anyone else and succeed in this job.
Raw by Katy Perry. It came in like a wrecking ball. Miley Cyrus. Theme song is Never Give Up by Sia. And if you've seen the movie Lion, you will know that song. As a candidate who has run 6 times for the privilege to represent a community I've been born in, I never gave up. Love that song.
It is absolutely fantastic that we now have 100 women having been elected to the Queensland Parliament. But I want to see our Parliament really reflect our community. Women are 50% of the population, and yet we're only 36% here in the Queensland Parliament. So I want to encourage more women and girls to think about politics and really being able to create change as a meaningful and rewarding career.
I hope to achieve law reform that just makes it easier for women to participate in society, but also in the Queensland Parliament. I hope that women who see more women in politics encourages them to put their hands up and run as well.
If there's one thing I hope to achieve, it is gender equality in our state and in our country. We do have an underrepresentation of women in leadership positions, and if I can in any way help shape and guide that, that's a positive.
You can come up with unparliamentary words. So I made big, fat, porky, unparliamentary.
Oh, look, I think I'm most proud of what I've delivered for my electorate because I've lived in my electorate all my life. Very proud of the social justice reforms we did for the LGBT queer plus community, for women in their right to choose being decriminalised, and what we did in that whole area of voluntary assisted dying and some of those wonderful social justice. Of course, delivering great education outcomes, delivering in all my portfolios gives me a sense of pride. But I guess air conditioning all schools was one thing, being a kid who was in some of the hottest classrooms here in Queensland you could imagine. There's a lot of big ticks. I'm just proud to be a Member of Parliament here in Queensland.
I think everyone in Queensland can remember the tragic death of Hannah Clark and her 3 children, and in the years that followed that, her parents Sue and Lloyd campaigned for change, and I think the proudest moment has been criminalising coercive control right here at Parliament, and being able to stand with Sue and Lloyd Clark and so many other victim survivors to, create such meaningful change for women and girls in Queensland is a very proud moment.
A hidden gem I would recommend is on North Stradbroke Island. You want to see Cylinder Beach. Absolutely beautiful.
In the Whitsundays, everyone knows about it, but it's the Great Barrier Reef.
Lower Moora Park in my electorate of Sandgate. It's quite relaxing and a lot of families go there on the weekends. So if you're not from around Sandgate, I recommend you visit, and there's lots of fish and chips places that you can visit around there as well and enjoy some time with your loved ones.
Hidden gem in Mudgeeraba is a place called Booknest, which is run by 2 amazing women, and they have made a really great success of their local business, and I encourage everyone to go to Booknest.
Down in Wynnum, we have hidden gems in spades. From our beautiful foreshore to Mudflat Arts at Lota, Hemmant Quarry Reserve, and of course the wonderful Tom Burns Mangrove Boardwalk. But possibly the one that most people don't know about is the wonderful Fort Lytton National Park, and I would encourage everyone to visit that, a national park in the heart of Brisbane City.
The hidden gem in the Redcliffe electorate is Moreton Island, and Moreton Island has the third largest sand dunes in the world, and is also a World Heritage listed site. So if you haven't had the opportunity to get to Moreton Island, highly recommend.
In our youngsters, the work they do, whether that's in the environmental space, the creative space, they really are setting a benchmark for all of us.